All right, you know him from Thai League Central, where he is the host of the Thai League Central and the Ta Lao podcast, a couple of different podcasts going on there, and just basically all things Thai football in English. It's Ta Lao. Thanks so much for joining us.
Ryan, thanks for having me on. I've been watching, been reading, and been following your stuff for quite a while now. So I'm excited to be on the K League United podcast.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm excited that we're not talking in theory about ASEAN players moving to K-League. We are talking about concrete moves. We're talking about players actually doing this. I feel like I think it was 2 years ago that Guion came on here for the first time, and we were talking, oh, maybe some of the Thai players that are going over to Japan could come over. Blah, 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 blah. It didn't happen, unfortunately, but now, here we are. We are talking about 25-year-old Sasalak Haiprakhon. I'm hoping that I got that somewhere near right.
Almost. Yeah, Sasalak
Almost.
Haiprakhon. Yeah,
Haiprakhon. Okay.
yeah.
I'll get it right moving forward. I mean, for the few that are watching the video version of this, I am wearing my Buriram kit during this because that's how happy I am that this is happening. And yeah, he is, like I said, he's a 25-year-old defender, 7-year veteran of the league, and there aren't a ton of K-League fans that know a lot about him. So just before getting into it, how was he viewed at Buriram league-wide within the national team? How's he viewed overall?
Yeah, well, with Sasalak, whenever somebody mentions his name, the first thing that pops up into Buriram fans, Thai fans, or football fans who follow the Thai league, it's the hard work and it's the desire to go forward. This kid, 25 years old, has pretty much bursted onto the scene in the past couple of years. He was actually at Bangkok United's academy before Buriram snatched him in 2017. So he's been at Buriram for 4 years now. But with Sasalak, you're getting a high energy player on the left side. He can play both the left back and left wing back position. So somebody that the K League fans should be excited about because he's got absolute energy. He's got just a presence to his game, and definitely Jeonbuk fans should be excited about him.
Yeah, I think it's that dynamic winger that has kind of been missing at times in K League. We saw Kim Moon Hwan, who's now with LAFC over in MLS. We've seen this kind of player here, but I think it's really interesting that after Asnawi Mankulam comes over and has a successful stint as a wingback or an out-and-out winger, now we're seeing a somewhat similar position being targeted here. But before we get into any of the actual full-on positional conversations, you've kind of gone over some of the strengths of where he plays. What are some of his weaknesses that folks might need to be aware of? Is he a wingback that doesn't really like to defend too much?
I think he's an all-rounder. He goes up very good on the ball. He can beat players one-on-one, all that good stuff, crossing, defending as well, very strong. The weakness, though, I think might play a factor is his height. He's not the tallest guy. He's around 170 centimeters. So ball over the top, cross field ball, all that kind of stuff that you see utilized a lot in Asian football. If one does go over his head, it's almost like that right winger or that right attacking player is gonna get an advantage almost. But other than that, I don't really see many weaknesses in him. Going forward, like I said, always an outlet on the left. And defensively, he stays with his man pretty well. We don't see a lot of teams attack on Sasalak's side because he's quite disciplined. So, yeah, a very talented upcoming player, and I think he's reaching his peak at the moment.
Yeah, he's right at about that age. And interestingly enough, he's somebody that Jeonbuk could be familiar with. They have faced off against each other in AFC Champions League. And that might be one of the things that had this move come about. And that does lead into one of the questions that we had on Twitter. This came in from RY9, keeping it anonymous, I guess. They said Jeonbuk's been chasing Sasalak for a while now, so why just a 6-month loan? And that is, should have mentioned that at the top, this is just a 6-month loan spell. And on piggybacking on that, I'm also kind of curious, is this something similar to what we saw with the trio that I refer to as the Supas, Supachak, Supanat, and Supachai, who went to Leicester? So is this kind of like Buriram kind of getting their fingers out there into other leagues, or do you think that there's potential for this loan to become a permanent deal?
Yeah, first of all, thanks, Rick, for the question. Actually, a fan in Singapore who have I talked to
Ah,
a few times before, Muang Thong fan, just like me. So it hurts a bit seeing Buriram players go to the K League, but let's stay professional here.
uh-huh.
Yeah, with Buriram, they've never actually let any Thai players go abroad before. This is the almost like the first set. Like 2021 is that
Hmm.
first year that four players, three to Leicester for trading, and now Sasalak to Korea. It's almost like that new phase of Buriram United where, all right, it's time. We've dominated domestically. It's time now
Hmm.
to sort of let these products of our club go and try and test the waters abroad. With Sasalak, though, good question on this. I'm not a big fan of the 6 month loan deal. I think it's
Hmm.
way too short. We've seen the likes of established players, Tirthon Bunmatan, arguably the best player in Thailand. Tirsin Dangda, one of the best strikers ever in Thailand, and Chanatip Songkrasin, who's our Messi. He's a Thai
Hmm.
Messi. All these three players took forever, not 3, 4, 5 years, but at least 1 year to adapt. It's not like you go and you bring them in 2, 3 months and they become regular starter. All these guys took time. It takes
Hmm.
at least a season. And I know it's not the Premier League. It's not other big leagues where you buy someone in December, by January they have to be first in the team sheet. But with Saslak, this 6 month deal seems like a trial for me.
Hmm.
And if he passes the trial well, then maybe that longer extended contract will be in his hands.
Yeah, and that also touches on something that somebody else said on Twitter here, that E Young is currently in that position for Jeonbuk, and I think it'll be hard to unseat him. But E Young, I mean, he's looking slow, to just call it what it is. And I think that speed is something that Jeonbuk do need. This also, look, as we're talking about this right now, this isn't the Jeonbuk that we're used to talking about. This is a Jeonbuk that needs some speed on the wings. They need some dynamism or dynamic players. But like you say, I don't love the fact that this is a 6 month loan either, because it just rings of something that's temporary, right? So
Mm,
I, the guys you brought up before that went to J League, when there was at least even a 1 year deal or a 2 year deal, then there's an investment. There's a desire to have them integrate into the team. Whereas now with a 6 month loan, my concern is kind of, especially with the team struggling, that they're going to just kind of keep going with what they know. But hopefully I'm wrong there. And again, they definitely need some help on the wings. So hopefully that's what they'll get here. And is that where you think he'll be best utilized? And I think the
mm.
comparisons are going to continue with Aznawi, just because we're finally getting some ASEAN players in, and they do play a somewhat similar position. And we've seen Aznawi come in as a defender, and then he was bumped up onto the wing. So do you think that Jeonbuk could utilize him a little further up the pitch, and maybe that's where he'll get some playing time? Or do you see him staying on the defensive side of things?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't watch a whole lot of K League, so I don't watch every single week,
Sure.
but I do
Rude.
from time to time.
Fine.
Yeah, yeah, I do from time to time watch some highlights. Listen a bit of your podcast, things like that. So
Mhm.
I've seen that Junwook they play a 4-2-3-1, correct?
Or a
And
four one
some
four
games
one,
they
yeah.
do, yeah, or a 4-1-4-1. And some games I've seen rarely they shift to a 3-4-2-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think Saslak's best position is actually a wing back, not a
Okay.
left back. If I have to pick one, because at Buriram they play a back three, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
a three and then a five sitting midfield and then two up top. So Saslak's on like the wing, like he's actually on as the wing back spot, not as the third guy on the left. So when it's a back four, there's more defensive duties that he has to do. Now, like I said, ball over the top, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We've not always seen him test it, and K League is a big step, a big step up in terms of quality. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how he adapts. But if I have to pick a strong position for him, it would be left wing back, not left back.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that fits with what a lot of teams are doing in K League anyway, and maybe that's what Jeonbuk want to shift to. Just got a couple more for you here, and maybe this is one that we'll be able to get. We'll get a YouTube clip for it if we can. But what would you say has been his best moment in Thai League so far?
Saslak's best moment, it hurts me as a Muang Thong fan because it was that 2019 goal that he scored against us. So again, Muangthong, Buriram, that derby, every single time it's waiting for somebody to be a hero. 0-0 late on in the game. Sassalak gets the ball just outside the edge of the box, that left hand area, cuts in with, to his weaker right foot and finishes off. Took a lucky deflection there. But I think ever since that moment, he became a solid left back for Buriram, or left wing back. And since then his career just took off. I think that there's been a lot of recognition among fans, other players as well in the league speak very highly of him. Determined, he comes from that not the richest of background, so he's an icon to many people in our country, and it just shows that hard work pays off at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned this already, but he was born in Buriram, so he's playing for his hometown club right now. So I think that adds a little bit to this move, and how ambitious he is right now to even accept this move, and even in a short-term stint like this. Got a couple of questions that are very similar that we'll get you out of here with. And again, I'm just so happy that we get to talk about actual players making these moves now. We had J-League Now come in on Twitter and said it's hard to ignore the ASEAN market these days in terms of popularity and the viewership that it brings. So that's on the off the field side. So he's asking, do you think other K-League teams will follow Jeonbuk and sign more ASEAN players depending on the success that Sasalak has? So does he have to be successful in your opinion, or this also ties into a similar question, which I'll just throw in now. Have you heard any other rumblings of players coming over here? So first, does Sasalak have to be successful? And is there any potential for more Thai players potentially coming this summer?
Yeah, I've heard a few rumors, but to answer your first question, I think Sasalak has a bit of pressure on him because he's going as Buriram's first foreign export, almost like first official export that the club has allowed a Thai player to go play abroad. So definitely, he's not just carrying his own name, his own reputation, but it's also Buriram. He's a Buriram United player going to play in the K League. So I think Sasalak has to do well. There is some pressure on him. And for the other rumors, there's another one, which is Adisak Raison, a more experienced striker. I think he's 31 years old now. Played at Port last season on loan from Muangthong, and he's been linked to Suwon, I believe, Samsung Blue Wings.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens with that one. I've heard other rumors of some players.
Keep them going. Keep going.
But there's not been any specific name that I've can say publicly, so that's all I've heard. Okay. Yeah,
I mean, Suwon could definitely use the help up top. They're having a tremendous season right now, and I would love to see them bring in a veteran striker, again, somebody that we would assume that would be playing right away. And that does kind of answer the other question that we had on Twitter from Dili Amin asking if other players are on the way. So hopefully we do see some more players moving over, and hopefully we can see Sasalak get some time for Jeonbuk. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But again, at least we're talking about players actually making these moves. And if folks want to follow Thai League a little bit more closely and maybe preempt some of these moves with their own homework and research, where can they find you guys online?
Well, please check us out, thaileaguecentral.com. We have a website there. Also follow us on Twitter at TL in capital letters and then Central. So Thai League Central. And then we have our Instagram at Thai League Central. Same for Facebook. Just look up Thai League Central. So 4 different platforms that you can check us out at. And please, I'm very excited that a Thai player is playing in the K League and looking forward to coming on the podcast more.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about with ACL as well. So I'm sure we'll have you or another one of the Thai League Central crew on soon to talk about hopefully the K League teams making their way through all of these groups and the opposition that they'll face along the way. But I think we're in for some upsets in ACL, so it'll be fun. But for now, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.